Jamal Lascelles, Carl Darlow, and you're watching Newcastle Fans TV.
Hello everybody, welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. We're going to be talking about quite a touchy subject amongst Newcastle fans, is where's the money? Why isn't Mike Ashley putting money into the club, and so on and so on. I'm just going to bring up some facts why Newcastle can't go out and spend crazy money. Yes, it's frustrating, but once I read all these out, but you'll see why. So recently, just April, that Newcastle announced the accounts. Now, when they released their accounts in April, it was the season that went down, and it wasn't taken into consideration that Newcastle were playing in the Championship last season. So expect next year's accounts to be negative, very much so, even though we're playing Premier League football. Now, expect a loss when that was to happen next year. Now, just looking at this season, you've got to look at what's the positives, the negatives to come out of all of this. And you probably say that the likes of Wijnaldum getting 25 million for him. You're probably saying Sissoko getting 30 million. I know that's rumoured to be instalments, 6 million a year. And it was reported last season that in the Championship at Newcastle, we had a salary of top 10 in the UK, not the Championship, in the UK. So we had a top 10 competing more than the likes of West Brom and so on and so on. We're in the top 10 in the whole of the UK, despite playing in the League Lower. Newcastle were able to keep some big players such as John Joe Shelby, Alexander Mitrovic, even keeping the Rafa Benitez at the helm as well. He signed a new contract as well. People have got to remember that as well. Mike Ashley had to put money into the club. You put 33 million in the start of the year to help Newcastle run the costs. And also, you remember that he also put 129 million in a couple of years back as well. So these are interest-free loans, of course, but Mike Ashley, people say he isn't helping. And I'm not Mike Ashley's biggest fan, but he is putting money into the club when he needs to. He doesn't have to. You can just sit there being owner and let us rot, but he has put money in, and that's... I know it sounds like I'm sticking up for him, but I'm looking at the facts there, which I've got in front of me. Now, Hull, who finished 18th in the Premier League, who are now playing in the Championship, would have received an extra 30 million more than what Newcastle did through TV revenue, which is absolutely madness, because Newcastle, despite appearing on, I think it was 18 and 19 live games last season, will only receive about 750,000 from TV money. That is mental. That's absolutely mental. Newcastle only picked up 7.1 million in the Championship overall from winning awards and TV rights and so on and so on. Whereas relegated sides, in likes of Sunderland and Hull and Middlesbrough, are going to receive over 100 million. That is crazy, crazy money, which Newcastle can't even compete. That's the reason why Middlesbrough can go out and sign a £15 million striker, Britt Osson-Malonga, and Newcastle can't. Parachute payments, of course, Newcastle had last season, which was 40 million, which you would think most of that has been spent already through last season as well. Yes, got a positive. Sky would have paid Newcastle early already, because we're showing 5 out of the first 7 games. Newcastle's 7 games are on Sky, so a little bit of money coming in there. Rafa Benitez needs to trim his squad. He has gone on record and said this several times, and we're well behind that. The likes of Krul, Lazar, Save, Haidara, Riviere are all on massive salaries, and it's difficult to get them players out of clubs. So yes, clubs do want them, don't get me wrong. It's just the wages that are holding these players getting out the door, because, to give an example, Masayda Haidara's on approximately 25,000. His move fell through to St Etienne. Rumours are it's a medical, rumours saying it's a salary, but for St Etienne, who play in Ligue 1, who don't get much money, that's massive. That will make them the highest paid player. It's difficult, and you probably ask yourself, well, why can't Mike Ashley just chuck money at it? That's the easiest thing to say in the world, but because of the financial fair play, Mike Ashley isn't allowed to do that. The easiest thing to do is, right, there's 200 million, Rafa, go and get your man, go and get your world-class strikeouts, going to guarantee to get your goals, blah, 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 blah. But because of financial fair play, we can't do it. It's so frustration, because even if we were to do that, we get a massive fine, and it's not like a slap on the wrist fine. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds of fines, which Newcastle cannot afford to pay at the moment. And then you're probably looking at, well, Paris Saint-Germain done it with Neymar. Why can't Newcastle? Well, Paris have paid, 198 million, so stay 200 million pounds. They're going to get that back in 6 months straight away because of TV deals. You're looking at shirt sales. They play in the Champions League, which money's gone up. Yes, Ligue 1 TV rights isn't great, but they will make that money back or equal it in 6 months. And then they've made a profit. And now their president has already come out and said that the club was worth 1.2 billion or something it was. And now because they've signed Neymar, they're worth 1.5 billion. It's crazy, but Newcastle can't go out and spend that kind of money to do that. Now, transfer dealings, I do expect more to come for the door, don't get me wrong. I know this sounds negative, but I want to give like a true reflection on how we deal with businesses. You know, the likes of Mikel Merino, who looks okay by, you know, we'll see more of in the Premier League. Expect Newcastle to the back end of this month to pay now, buy later deals. So you might say like a loan option where we trigger that clause and buy them, or we might pay installments for players. You know, being linked to the likes of Stoke City's Hoslo, I'm like, ugh, really? It's not someone that I really want in the door. His record at Deportivo when he was out on loan last season is what, 1-4, 1-5. Sorry, is that good enough? 1-4, is it for the Premier League? Not for me. But it's because of relegation. It's absolutely screwed over this year, and I'm frustrated as the next fan that we can't go out and buy great players. We're buying bargain hunting players, and yeah, you might say one of them two will come out as fantastic buys. So just to recap, really, Rafa needs players out. Mike Ashley can't chuck money in it because of financial fair play, and relegation's haunted with. It's absolutely haunted with, and you probably blame the board for that, for hiring Steve McLaren and buying players that he doesn't really want. Frustrating. It is very frustrating, but, you know, hopefully we'll see a couple more players come for the door, and hopefully players that excite the fans, but I wouldn't put that against the board or anything like that. But let us know what you think on that. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye bye.